From the Worldwide Reb, this is Reflections of a Rabbi.
One drop of honey makes a world of difference. One drop of honey makes learning sweet. Add one drop of honey to Talmud Torah, and you've got a team that can't be beat. All starts with the children. Open minds and smiling faces.
This Motzei Shabbat, after Shabbat, I'm heading off to Israel, and I'm attending a conference, the World Congress for the Advancement of Surgery in Israel. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Why are you going? I asked myself the same question. Well, I'm speaking, and it turns out that I have a wonderful next-door neighbor who invited me to do just that. He's organizing the conference, and I'm going to talk about the audacity to heal. Does God have a place in our hospitals? It is quite strange that we turn to doctors and nurses for healing. I mean, if you look at our biblical texts, God is the source of healing, right? Moses prays to God when Miriam is sick. There are countless examples in the book of Kings, the book of Isaiah, even in the Torah itself, in the book of Exodus, when it talks about Adonai who heals us. So where do we get off bringing healing? Well, the answer to that isn't so far away from the text that I just cited, because we have many texts in the Torah and throughout Jewish sacred texts that also tell us that we have an obligation to heal. In fact, Rashi, the great commentator from the 11th century, reads that right into the Torah. He says that God not only allows us to bring healing, but requires us to be partners with God in bringing about healing. So if we now are the ones who bring healing, what's God's role? Well, I'm going to talk about at this conference is my own personal experience with healing and how I strongly believe that were it not for God's presence, guiding the hands of the surgeons, directing the hearts of the nurses, giving wisdom to the doctors and experience and the resources that they need to the researchers, that I would never have been able to experience any of the healing that they gave to me. We indeed have wonderful gifts that God has given us, that we are able to and obligated to share with others. For doctors, that gift, and for nurses, that gift is the gift of healing. But those gifts don't begin with us. We are only the hands, the arms, the eyes, the feet of God. Those gifts, the gift of healing, does reside with God, and it is we who are able to take that gift and bring it into our world. So does God have a place in the hospital? I think God does. Perhaps not as explicitly as God did back in ancient times, in the biblical period, when we thought that God was the one doing the healing. But today, more than ever, when we're facing difficult times, when we're facing struggle and loss, it's important for us to be able to turn to other people who have the capacity and the capabilities to bring about healing. It's also important, I believe, to have faith that God will give them the tools that they need to do their holy work. So, if any of you are in Israel next week, I hope you'll come by and say hello. I'm in Jerusalem. And until next time, perhaps from the Holy Land, Lihitraut.